If you're new to the channel, then welcome, and if you're returning to the channel, then welcome back. I just want to say a quick thank you to you for tuning in. So in last week's video, we talked about the importance of mentality when it comes to saving money, and while that is a key component of things, another important topic that we covered was the importance of setting goals and how that kind of planning and challenging yourself can really help you accomplish things for the big picture. Over the past few years, as I've taken my own personal finance more seriously, I've set numerous goals for myself, and at this point I'm happy to report that all the goals I've set up until now I've actually been able to accomplish. Now, I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back or make myself feel better about what I've done, but instead to give you the realization and set the expectation that if you're aiming towards something, it makes it a lot easier to achieve or hit that goal. And last, the most important thing is just because I've accomplished goals in the past, that doesn't mean I've stopped setting goals for myself in the future or right now, which brings us to today's video. Now, I realize that this would probably make more sense to have this kind of video in, say, January, the beginning of the year when most people are setting goals. And the truth is, I actually did set these goals for myself back in January. I just didn't have this YouTube channel at the time. So I figured what better time than the present time to clue you into some of the goals I've had for this past year. Plus, we get the unique opportunity of checking in how I've progressed towards these goals over the year and to see if I'm on track towards accomplishing them. Now, there are many small goals that I set for myself every week, every month, but I really just wanted to focus on the big kind of medium to long-term ones that I've set for myself, and I've limited it to 5 goals. Number 1 was to save 50% of my income. Number 2 was to get a credit score of 750 or above and maintain it for the entire year. Number 3 was to cut back on my superfluous spending. Number 4 was to contribute more money to my retirement accounts. And number 5 was to save up enough money to be able to put down a 20% down payment on a new house. Goal number 1 was to save 50% of my income. Now, over the last few years, I've been really fortunate in the fact that I've been able to acquire better and better jobs. And with each one of these better jobs, I have gotten a significant bump in pay. In fact, over the last 3 years, I've been able to basically triple my income. Now, in being able to accomplish this, obviously, I think anyone would want to be able to triple their income in just 3 years. It's something that, I'm proud of. I realize that I put in a lot of preparation and hard work, but at the same time, there's also some element of good luck and fortune that has come my way to present myself with these opportunities. But what I've realized is that if I want to hold on to this extra money that I'm earning every time I get a new job or a promotion or a raise, that I actually have to double down and focus on saving that much more money each time. After I graduated college and got my first full-time job, I started out with just trying to save 20% of my income. And when I got my second job after that, I focused on saving 35% of my income. And now this past year, I've really tried to buckle down and focus on saving 50% of my income. Now, this is a pretty sizable amount of money for me to try and save. It's definitely the most I've ever tried to save as far as my total income is concerned. So let's go ahead and take a look at the past 8 months to see how I've done. Alright, January I was able to save 52%, February 42%, March 59%, April 26%, May 32%, June 45%, July 26%, August 64%, which has given me an average for the past 8 months being able to save 43.25% of my income. So as you can see, it hasn't been going that perfect actually. I have been kind of all over the place. Some months I'm meeting that 50% goal or going above it, and other months I'm not even hitting the 35% of my income goal. That was my previous goal in past years. Like I mentioned before, saving 50% is the most I've ever tried to do, and for me it's a pretty sizable amount, especially since this past year I've had more expenses than I've ever had in the past. I recently moved to a new apartment, and all the bills and the rent that is associated with that are definitely costly. But looking at my overall average for the past 8 months, it is still technically an improvement over the 35%, which was my previous goal. So I'm definitely trending in the right direction. And on top of that, since I had a kind of rocky few months over the summertime so far, I've definitely tried to double down and put a lot of savings in for this past August. So I'm definitely trying to get back on track, and I am trending in the right direction. Goal number 2 was to get my credit score to or above 750 and maintain it there for the rest of the year. I have been thinking about and setting a goal to possibly buy a new house in the near future, and hopefully by getting my credit score to 750 or above and maintaining it there, it's going to give me ideally the best opportunities for loans that I can get on a mortgage. Now, I have had my credit card for about 4 years now, and over the course of those years, my credit score has hit and gone above 750 multiple times, but for various reasons, it's gone down below that and bounces back and forth in between those scores. This year, I also did apply for a new credit card and actually got it, so I know that can have an impact on your credit score. On top of that, there are a lot of different things that you have to track for credit scores. Maybe it's a FICO score or a Vantage score or Credit Karma. It can be complicated. There's a lot of different things to try to keep up with to know which score is the most accurate and what different lenders are going to be using when they're doing your credit check. So my approach for that this year has just been to look at all of the various credit scores and credit reports that I have access to for myself and basically just average them out. And I'm happy to report that right now I am floating as an average between all of the different scores above 750. And as long as I don't make any drastic changes to my credit or spike my utilization or miss any payments, then this should be a mission accomplished when it comes to December. Goal number 3 was to cut back on my superfluous spending. And this is actually a topic that I've already made a video about. In fact, it was the very first video that I made on this channel, which was how I saved $160 a month by cutting back my spending. So I already knew that in the beginning of the year, my subscription services were starting to pile up. And that was the whole point of making that video, just showing you how to cut back on some basic spending that you might not be thinking about. So as far as subscription services, mission accomplished. But another thing that I know I've just always spent too much money on is probably eating out. I have been getting better at that though. So to combat some of that eating out, I have been heavily focused on going to the grocery store and buying groceries to cook for myself. And when it comes to eating out, I try to limit myself to only doing that like once or twice a week at most. I think if I can stay on pace with the limiting myself in terms of eating out, this can be considered a mission accomplished come December. Goal number 4 was to contribute more money to my retirement accounts. And like all of you should be, if you have this opportunity, I am maxed out in the contributions that I make to my 401k as far as what my employer matches percentage-wise. And on top of that, I do have an HSA account, which I contribute to. That's not technically a retirement account, but again, it is something that if you have access to, is a good idea to contribute some money to. So for both the 401k and the HSA, I have actually bumped up my contribution for this year. That way I'm getting some more money flowing into those accounts for the long term. Now, the next step after that would be contributing to a Roth IRA, and this has been a work in progress for me as well. So I guess on this goal, I've actually already accomplished it. And in terms of now contributing to a Roth IRA, kind of the head of the game on this one. Goal number 5 was to save enough money to be able to put down a 20% down payment on a new house. Now, this is definitely my biggest goal for 2020, and not just 2020, but in years previous, as I've been saving money over the years, this is something I've constantly been thinking about. Now, I don't know for sure 100% that I will buy a new house when I have that opportunity, and the more I think about it, even though it has been in the back of my mind, I feel like it's not necessarily that I want to buy a new house as soon as I can, but really I just want to have the funds to be able to make that decision if a good opportunity presents itself. I guess it's really just about having the option to be able to do that. Now, like most places right now, housing prices have gone up quite a bit in my area, but at the same time, for everyone, the interest rates on loans are like way down. So it's definitely a trade-off in terms of what the housing market has to offer in terms of price. Again, when I initially wrote this goal down, even a couple of years ago when I just kind of really started to try and save for a new house, I definitely used language that suggested I was going to buy a house as soon as I could, but now as some time has gone on and I've had some time to reflect, I think it's really just about setting the goal for myself so that way if I feel like I want to pursue that, I have the freedom to do so. So when we get to the end of the year in December, we'll see where I'm at cash-wise and mentally. Who knows? I mean, if housing prices keep going up the way that they are right now, this may just be a goal that lasts indefinitely. So there they are, my 5 goals for 2020 when it comes to personal finance. Number 1, again, just to recap, is to save 50% of my income. Number 2 was to get a credit score of 750 or above and maintain it. Number 3 was to cut back on superfluous spending. Number 4, contribute to more money to my retirement accounts. And number 5, I'm going to retitle this to save up enough money to be able or have the opportunity to put a 20% down payment on a new house. Overall, I think I'm doing okay. I think the one goal that I can definitely improve on is the number one goal, which is saving 50% of my income. That might not be the only goal that I accomplish this year, but even if I don't get there completely, I am happy as long as I stay above that 35% goal, which was my previous one in years past. I just did a quick calculation on the numbers, and I think that even if I really try to buckle down and save hard, I'll really only end up saving like mid to high 40% of my income instead of reaching 50%. But like I said, that's okay. It's still an improvement over my previous goals, and it just gives me something to aim for next year. I am curious for any of you who may have set goals in terms of finance, and since we're already 8 months into the year, how you may have progressed on them. And if you haven't set any goals for this year, then maybe this can serve as some motivation or inspiration. Maybe it can give you some ideas on some possible goals you can set for yourself. You don't have to start with big lofty goals, and I'm not even really trying to suggest that the ones I've set for myself this past year have been big lofty goals. You can start out with smaller ones. I know I certainly did in the beginning, but it was setting those small goals that really built the foundation for me to aim and progress towards much bigger ones now, at least bigger ones for me personally. These are really just building blocks, and you have to remember not to get frustrated. You know, it's okay that circumstances change and unexpected things pop up in life. So if you're not meeting these goals 100%, as long as you're making some kind of progress, even if it's little by little, step by step, that's really what the point of all of this is just to make gradual progress. And over time, all of that gradual progress adds up. And before you know it, you're chasing down bigger goals than you ever thought you could have accomplished in the past. I mean, if you would have asked me if I ever thought that I would make a decent enough amount of money to be able to save 50% of my income, or save up enough money to put a 50% down payment on a new house, I would have told you it was out of the question. But now these are goals that are pretty realistic for me, and I'm definitely trying to chase down, whether it be this year or the next. So as always, thank you for being here. I hope that information was helpful or maybe motivational at some point. Like and comment down below. It's going to let me know if you want to see more content like this. As always, subscribe if you want to stay up to date, and I'll see you all next time.